The Mariners began their last road trip of the year with a series win over the Kansas City Royals. Joe and I are going to break down what happened in this series, including a couple of home runs from Cal Raleigh, the ending of the 10-game win streak, and a crazy challenge that happened in Game 3. We're then going to give you guys our FanDuel favorites before we break down what is happening around the league, because a lot of things have change slash are just moving parts, you know what I mean, with teams like the Tigers, the Guardians, the Red Sox. We're gonna break that all down for you in today's episode. Thank you guys so much for watching episode 228 of the Hit It Here podcast, part of the Bleav Network and presented by FanDuel. And this is the Jordan Jones episode of the podcast. Jordan's been the GOAT recently in the streams, gifting members and just hanging out in chat. So Jordan, we appreciate you. And Joe, I heard a rumor that if you like this podcast, it increases the chance for the Mariners to sweep the Astros in this upcoming series. That's what I heard. I don't know. I heard that if you like this episode and the next episode, there's a chance the Mariners will sweep the Astros. So hey, I don't know about you guys. I don't want to risk it, so I would make sure to hit that like button.
Some are saying the karmic shift with the Etsy Witch and everything, just setting out good karma, good vibes, is what will propel the Mariners to victory. Liking the episodes, giving us a 5-star review if you listen on the audio side. I mean, all of it, right? All the good vibes in general to help with the upcoming series. But before we get there, we do have to talk about the second consecutive road series win for your Seattle Mariners. Could have been a sweep. We'll talk about game 2. Because it was a doozy, but game 1 was a doozy itself. I mean, the Mariners dropped 12 on the Royals' heads. I mean, let's be very honest with ourselves, Colton. You called out early in the last podcast that Bryce Miller starts, Luis Castillo starts, Logan Gilbert is the game 1 starter. Will we see the passing of the torch of the blown game in game 1 with Logan on the mound? And boy, were there some moments late in this one that it felt like it very much so could have been well on its way, but it is a hard lead to give up when you score 10 runs by the 5th inning. And Cal, obviously two big home runs, one from the left, one from the right, to officially pass Mantle and then tie Ken Griffey Jr. early on in this game. The offense was clicking, the offense was humming. I praised Michael Wacha in our series preview. He did not live up to the hype, and I am very, very thankful for that. Logan, on the other hand, 5 2/3, 6 hits, 2 earned, 1 walk, 5 strikeouts. In the game script of this one, where you're looking at this could be the one where you get a big lead and then you give it right back, that's a very solid pitching line, in my opinion. I don't think there's a single game in this series by the Mariners starters where you're like, they could have done better. We needed them to do a bit more. I think all 3 specifically for this series went pretty well.
Is the curse of Kauffman Stadium dead now?
I hope so.
Is the Etsy Witch more powerful than the curse of Kauffman Stadium? It might be. In this game, you mentioned Cal Raleigh's 2 home runs. Both passing Mantle and tying Griffey in the same game is so cool. Mm-hmm. Just so cool for Cal. But we can't not mention Dominic Canzone, dude, who was 5 for 5 with 3 home runs, 4 RBI, and 4 runs in this game. Dom looked incredible in this one. The first 3-homer game since 2019 when Kyle Seager did it versus the White Sox. And to be honest with you, when Kyle Seager did it, not to say that he shouldn't have had 3 home runs, but the ball bounced out of the outfielder's glove and over the wall for the 3rd home run. So, you know what I mean? So, hey, Dom Canzone, having a fantastic year, definitely playing his way onto the roster in 2026. Super cool to see him in this one kind of have a big night. Caleb Ferguson came into this game, walked 1, struck out 1, didn't give up any runs. Carlos Vargas did end up giving up a run in this one in a 1/3 of an inning. You bring in Luke Jackson, 2/3 of an inning, 2 hits, 2 earned, 1 walk. Not a good showing from Luke Jackson in this one. And because of that, you had to use Gabe Spire to get 1 out there in that inning. And thankfully, it was only a couple of pitches, so it wasn't that big of a deal. And this game was finished out by Emerson Hancock. But yeah, nearly everybody in this game had a base knock except for Randy, Gino, and JP Crawford. None of them had a base knock in this one. But when you look at game 2, Where this one, you mentioned, the Mariners end up losing this one, snapping the 10-game losing streak. Gino, for example, had a fantastic game.
Yeah.
He was a triple shy of the cycle in this one. And you felt all right. With Kansas City scored 3 in the first off of Bryce, was a big Salvador Perez home run.
Yep.
A play that maybe JP should have made and thrown the runner out at first. I'm not sure if he would have been able to get him out or not. But the Mariners respond back with a Gino 2-run home run in the second inning. And it was 3-2 for quite some time. The Mariners actually came back and tied this game in the 7th, took the lead in the 8th before Joe. Matt Brash comes in. You feel good about that, up by 1. And unfortunately, he just can't hold him down.
The Matt Brash girlies are in shambles. My dad, one of which included. I was watching the game, and then he, no knock, just barrels through the door, and he just comes in just shouting swear words, saying if Brash would just throw the ball instead of trying to place it, blah blah blah. Why does he keep doing this? Blah 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 blah. It was a generational tirade from one Floyd Lacey in the bottom of the 8th inning, and unfortunately, that would spell the Mariners. Spell the Mariners. What's the phrase there? I don't know. Spell bad luck for the. I don't know. The Mariners lose because of a 4-run spot given up by Matt Brash. Not good. His last time out when they were facing the Angels, gave up a home run in that one too. So back-to-back not clean outings. Yes, he did get the save in that previous one, but are we worried about Matt Brash? Not really. I don't think so. There's going to be spots where relievers just have little hiccups, and I think if these are the 2 for Matt Brash, I'm okay with him still going forward, with especially how well Gabe Spire's been pitching and also Edward Pizzardo. You feel good about the depth behind Brash, and I'm not worried with his performance going forward, just based around how volatile relievers can be. I really liked Bryce Miller's ability to bounce back in this one after that first inning. I mentioned I'm not overwhelmed. I wasn't disappointed by any starts. The 3-run bomb by Salvi, listen, it felt like the most scripted home run ever. It felt like, and to be able to bounce back after that, though 4 scoreless beyond that, was good for Bryce in my opinion. Gino, obviously for a good get right game for him. Of course, I don't know if you saw Switch's breakdown of the Mariners record with Gino's offense since joining the Mariners. When Gino is really poor, the Mariners are really good. And when Gino's really good, they lose games. TLDR is Gino good, Mariners bad, and that was the case in game 2. They rallied in the 9th, 1st and 3rd with no outs, had a chance, and then Dom pinch hits coming off the 3-homer game, felt like a decent chance. Unfortunately, grounds into a double play. That kind
111 off the bat.
He scalded it
crushed
just right at somebody. Adam Frazier revenge game. This felt like the Kauffman Royals, where that the stadium is cursed, and sometimes there's just not much you can do about it. You got Cole Reagans out there early, out of there early, 3 2/3. Of course, we knew he was on a pitch count since he hasn't pitched since June, and then the bullpen, covers decent innings, but you get 1 run off of Angel Serpa, you get 1 run off of Lucas Ursig, you get 1 run off of Carlos Estevez. The Mariners did show fight in this one. It's just, unfortunately, that blemish from Brash in the 8th is more of a wart than a blemish. And it spelled disaster. That's the phrase. Spelled disaster.
You got there. Yeah, the vibes after this game, specifically in the stream, it was to be expected, right? People were pretty upset. People were pessimistic about. I had multiple people in the stream last night say, "Oh, here comes the collapse," and it's like, man, guys, I understand. I get it.
Yeah.
I understand as a Mariners fan, we are very used to something like this that snowballs and spirals. But can we just for a second just enjoy things? Can we just enjoy things don't get me wrong, I'm stressed. I am super stressed right now. My blood pressure's through the roof.
Yeah.
But just enjoy it. There's only 9 games left in the regular season, and then things get real stressful. The Mariners came out in game 3, and it really, what team are we going to get? Are they going to let that loss snowball, or are they going to bounce right back? And to their credit, they bounced right back. I will say, this is probably the most boring game of the entire season.
Yep.
Oh my God, this game was boring. A 2-0 win for the Mariners in this one. You have a double that scores Josh Naylor off of the bat of Jorge Polanco, and then just Nothing until a wild moment in the top of the 8th inning. A ground ball from Dominic Canzone to second base, Michael Massey, thrown out at first. Nothing weird there. Like, whatever. And I don't think I had my headphones in when this happened, so I didn't know what the hell was happening.
Sure.
And then I'm like, why are the Mariners challenging that? And I'm watching it, and I'm like, oh my God, they're challenging that his feet are on the outfield grass, which when they got rid of the shift in baseball, all 4 infielders have to have their feet on the dirt. If any part of your cleat is touching the grass, then the Mariners have 2 options. They can either have the runner just go to first base, or they can take what happened in that situation. Obviously, they're not going to take the out. So they decide, they somehow the Mariners saw this. I don't know how they saw this. And they're like, yeah, let's challenge that. And it worked. And all of a sudden, Dominic Canzone's on first base. They pinch run Victor Robles, and then J.P. Crawford comes through with a double to score Victor. In the end, that run wasn't that important because the Mariners shut out the Royals, but just a crazy way for Game 3 to go at the end of it.
I think more importantly about the run is just like the momentum and the vibe shift that extra run creates as far as alleviating pressure. So shout out Andy Bissell, replay review GOAT. Shout out him for real. I want to say, just watching it back, maybe is the way that Massey, obviously his heels were on the grass, like duh, they got it right. But the way he fielded it and then immediately pivoted from the dugout where the Mariners are at, you could probably see how far he was in the grass with taking one step. That to me would say like, hey, there was something weird there. So a worthy challenge that ends up paying off for them, getting that extra insurance run there. Luis Castillo, a quality start, 6 innings, 3 hits, 3 strikeouts, vintage rock performance. Not a lot of strikeouts, but as he mentioned in the preview podcast for this series, Royals don't strike out a lot anyway. So limiting damage. There were some shaky moments or some moments that are scary, but over 9 innings of baseball, you're going to have those. I mean, you had a situation with Andres Munoz where, was it Pasquantino? Yeah,
Pasquantino hit the double.
Hit the double. And it's like, okay, where's this going to go from here? I mean, Gabe was 3-0 down to Jonathan India in the inning before, and then he threw him 3 straight fastballs on the outer paint and made India look like a fool. Like, there was definitely some stressful moments. Yeah, India just had the bat on his shoulder. Someone replied to us on Twitter saying, like, the Royals broadcast said that you went up there to pinch hit, not to pinch look, is what the broadcast said about India, which is just ultimately hilarious. But great pitching all around. You shut out the Royals in the final game, and you secure a series win on an off day for a lot of teams around you, but not for everybody. So I understand where maybe some of the pessimism comes from the stream when they lost because the Astros swept the Rangers. So you fell back a half game in the standings in that scenario because you lost, they won. With the game today, Thursday, Astros have a day off. So whether you win or lost, you would either be tied with them again heading into the series against Houston, or you would be a full game back. And with this win, you gain ground on them. You gain ground on the Rangers. We will do around the league here. But first, Colton, we have to talk about our FanDuel favorites. And do you want to start with Mr. Home Run himself? With 2
Mr. Home Run, huh?
Yeah, that's his new name. No longer Big Dumper, Mr. Home Run himself. I'm trying to get these nicknames working, like Mr. 6 innings for Brian Wu, Mr. Home Run. We're workshopping some other ones. I don't really know where else to go. But with Cal Raleigh sitting at 56 home runs, 2 in the first game against the Royals, sitting at minus 800 to lead the league in home runs. Kyle Schwarber next in line at plus 450. It's getting late early for the rest of the competition with Cal Raleigh 1 away from breaking Junior's record. I mean, will he get to 60? I don't know, but it feels, minus 800 is about as, with only 9 games left, about as good of a lockety lock as you can get for any kind of bet as far as player statistics are concerned. Team stuff is a little bit different, but Cal Raleigh at minus 800, you're probably not putting any bet on this right now because you're not making really any money. You're not going to make a serious amount of coin on it. But again, it's a favorite for a reason. Cal Raleigh is a tremendous favorite over here on FanDuel for leading the league in home runs.
Cal, for what it's worth, man, I mean, there was a time kind of around the All-Star break where I'm like, he's probably going to start to wear down as we get to the second half. And don't get me wrong, Cal hasn't had the greatest second half. It hasn't been nearly as good as his first half, but Nonetheless, you look at where he's at in the MVP odds, and he's still right there with Judge. He's at Cal's at plus 250 with Judge at minus 350. I honestly, man, it'll be very interesting to see how the voters go on this because, yes, Judge has the offensive numbers. And if this was an Offensive Player of the Year award, I'd say, yeah,
Well,
it's Aaron Judge.
the Hank
Sure.
Aaron Award exists for a reason.
Yeah. So, but it's like, does Aaron Judge squat behind the plate and catch 17,000 balls this season? Like no, he hasn't. Like he's played right field. He gets to stand there a lot of the time and do nothing. Cal is involved in every single pitch, no matter what. He's calling each pitch. He has more games played than Aaron Judge, and Cal's a catcher. Now, I know that Aaron Judge went on the injured list, but there's also something to say about the durability of a guy at catcher playing as many games as Cal Raleigh has. So he's not the favorite right now to win the MVP. Honestly, I think that he probably needs to get to 60 to become the favorite. I don't know if he's going to be able to get there. He needs 4 homers in 9 games. I mean, Cal's done it before. He certainly could. It's just a pretty tall order. He'd need to hit a couple probably in Houston. But yeah, yeah, fingers crossed. And then hopefully they're big ones. My favorite part of the discourse is Yankees fans saying that Cal Raleigh doesn't hit meaningful home runs. Like he didn't, like he didn't send the Mariners to the playoffs for the first time in 20 years with a pinch hit home run. Like they were like, if you could show us one like moment of Cal Raleigh hitting a clutch home run, I'm like, okay, well, how about the game versus the Rays off of Griffin Jacks?
Yeah.
Like, like there, I can show you some from the past like month. Like, what do you want? So I don't know. Yeah, it's just funny to watch Yankees fans spiral because Aaron Judge might not win the MVP this year. It's fun to watch.
I think what makes me believe that Cal will be the American League MVP, there's a couple qualifications. I think 60 home runs solidifies it, in my opinion. But also, if the Mariners win the West, I think that in and of itself should provide enough for the voters to be like, you know what? Judge is probably going to continue this kind of stretch for years to come. Like, we've seen the track record for Judge. This is not something new. This is something pretty new for Cal Raleigh. Yes, he's Platinum Glove Award winner. He's not having the best defensive season compared to his previous year, obviously, but offensively, he takes that huge step forward. And I think that if it's not necessarily voter fatigue, but it's the idea of like, why not give it to someone else who is equally as deserving? I think it could be a coin flip for me. Like these could be even odds and I would not be surprised. And of course, there's our bias versus the entire baseball world's East Coast bias as far as Judge is concerned, playing on the biggest stage in New York. If you're considering that the biggest stage at this point, whether it's that or the Dodgers, as far as like what is the national media really fully paying attention to. But Cal at plus 250, I think his odds are better than that. But like I said, winning the West is pretty imperative, I think, for his chances to get even better. And the Mariners currently sit at minus 150 to win the American League West with the Astros at plus 100. Obviously, the Mariners and Astros are tied heading into the upcoming series, which we're not talking about in this episode. You got to stay tuned for tomorrow. So make sure you guys are subscribed. We'll have it out for you tomorrow morning before the Astros series even gets started. But plus 100 for the Astros. The Mariners are tied with them. Whoever wins this series wins the season series. Pretty big implications there just in terms of tiebreakers. But also, I mean, whoever wins the series is going to be 2 up in the standings with 6 games to go. No, 1 up in the standings. Unless 1 up if you win it, 3 up if you sweep it, right? And who knows what will happen there. But with how well the Mariners have been playing, I mean, these are the best odds that we've seen as far as the division, I think. And then when you look around like the league winners in the World Series, I mean, it's the best that the Mariners have been so far in 2025, and I think for good reason.
Yeah, the Mariners are tied with the Yankees at plus 900 to win the World Series, right behind the Blue Jays, and then behind 3 National League teams in the Phillies, who have currently the best odds, the Dodgers, and then the Brewers. So the Mariners are right there, man, with the best teams, like teams that you look at and you're like, yeah, those are all teams that could win the World Series this year. The Mariners are right there. They're a team that has the pieces to win the World Series this year. And I think that, you know, when you look at what the Mariners have done recently, it makes a lot of sense. But we do need to talk about what's going on with the rest of the league, because again, The Mariners have like a 98.5% chance of making the playoffs right now, but it's how they make the playoffs. Is it the division? Is it the wild card? You look at the standings right now. We just mentioned how the Mariners are tied with the Astros at the top of the American League West. If you go in and look at the wild card though, the Mariners are also currently one game up on the Boston Red Sox and in the second spot in the wild card. Should they, and same with the Astros, obviously, when I'm talking about records here. And then they would be 1.5 games back of the Yankees for the top wild card spot, which would mean that if you get the top wild card spot, you get to host a wild card series. Same if you win the division, you get to host a wild card series. Now, I know we all want to talk about winning the division, but when we're looking at the wild card specifically, you really want to take that number one spot if you have to be in the wild card. The Cleveland Guardians, what?
Do you want to know the Yankees schedule the rest of the way?
Just yeah, so it's soft, isn't it?
Dude. Today that we're recording this, they start a 4-game series against the Orioles in Baltimore. Then they have the White Sox at home for 3, and then the Orioles at home for 3. So their last 6 games are about as softball as you can get, as like a lob, if you will. So taking over the wild card from the Yankees might be a little insurmountable, just given their current existing strength of schedule the rest of the way. Anything can happen. I mean, a series that we're going to talk about here in just a second, before I rudely interrupted you, did not go the way that we thought with 2 American League Central teams. So anything is possible with 10 or 9 or 10 games left down the stretch, but looking at the wild card one might be a bit more I think it's harder to get wild card one than it is to get the West.
Yeah, I would agree with that. It's a tall task. You mentioned a series that just concluded around the same time the Mariners concluded their series with the Royals, but the Guardians versus the Tigers. Hey, I went into that. I'm saying I think I want the Guardians to win that series, because that if the Mariners were to win the division and if they can catch the Tigers, they have a first round bye. We're not just talking about like a division, but you got to go play in the wild card. We're talking about having a first round bye, and that's huge. With the Guardians, they went and swept the Detroit Tigers in all of this. So not only did they win the series, they swept the Tigers. The Mariners find themselves 1 game back of the Detroit Tigers for the 2nd seed in the American League. And that's huge for this team.
I almost choked on water. I shouldn't be allowed to have water bottle moments in the middle of a podcast. You have the tiebreaker over the Tigers as well. You swept them in Comerica, just like the Guardians just did, and then you took one off of them when they faced you in T-Mobile at the beginning of the year off of Scooble, the ghost of Dylan Moore's home run. May be paramount for how this season finishes up. But the Guardians, winners of 7 in a row. They're the second hottest team in baseball behind the Mariners, more than likely. Depends on how you look at it. Mariners currently on a 1-game win streak, versus the Guardians, winners of 7 in a row. So maybe you could argue the Guardians are hotter than the Mariners. So with the 2.5 game lead on the Guardians, 3.5 if you count the tiebreaker, the Guardians have to place higher, have a better record than the Mariners the rest of the year for them to pass them in any sort of standings. I don't see that really happening necessarily. I think that tiebreaker buffer bodes well for both of these situations where the Guardians and the Tigers are in direct competition with you as far as postseason berths are concerned. But the Guardians, they have some games against the Twins coming up. They've got a 4-game set. Oh, they have 4 games against the Twins because there's a double header on Saturday. I was looking at how do they have, what's going on here? It's 4 games against the Twins because there's a double header on Saturday. It is in Minnesota, but we know how poor the Twins are as a team. So take that with what you will. Do they mop that series? It's hard to do that in baseball. It's likely that they probably just win that series 3-1. But then they have the Guardians. Then the Guardians go home to face the Tigers, coming off a series sweep in Comerica. It feels good for the Guardians to continue to rise up the ranks in the wild card. If the Tigers continue to slip, do the Guardians pass them in the standings? it's a bit of a far cry shout for that one, just given how much of a lead the Tigers built up. But it is only 3.5 at this point. So anything could happen, like I said, down the stretch. And with the Tigers' remaining schedule, you have 3 against the Braves, and then like the 3 against the Guardians. And then you have 3 against Boston on the road, which simultaneously, if the Tigers win that series against Boston at the end of the year, what does Boston look like down the stretch? Because of if the Guardians are continuing to play well, I feel like the Rangers effectively got eliminated this weekend after getting swept by the Astros. So I don't know if we necessarily need to talk about them, but you talked about it a little bit in the previous podcast of the last 2 weeks, everyone's playing everybody. And it's just going to be insanity, chaos looking at the standings and the scoreboards for the remainder of the season. But the American League Central, I do think it still is the Tigers when it's all said and done, whether it's by a game or 2, or if the Tigers do bounce back, because I mean, they're not as good of a team on the road as they are at home, but that didn't seem to matter when the Guardians went there. And maybe the Guardians just got hot at the right time, similar to the Tigers last year when they got hot down the stretch and ended up making the postseason. Could the Guardians do the same exact thing this season? It's entirely possible.
I mean, the Guardians are playing with house money right now, man. 7 in a row. That's a team that I kind of, I feel like's underperformed quite a bit this year, in my opinion. But at the same time, with how good the Tigers started this season, I kind of felt like, yeah, the Tigers are just going to run away with this thing. As we sit here today and we look at the standings, you could take a screenshot of the standings today, and then on the last day of the season, look at them, and they can look completely different, just depending on how certain things go. Again, the Tigers have 3 against the Guardians and 3 against the Red Sox. Those are pivotal games, especially if the Tigers continue to struggle. But no, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter, because there's one team that matters right now, and that is the Houston Astros. Obviously, the Mariners are starting a 3-game set versus them tomorrow. No bigger series has ever been played, ever, for the Seattle Mariners. The Astros, ever.
Not even like the
ever.
American League Division Series in 2022?
No, ever.
Series that we weren't alive for in like 95 or anything?
Ever.
No? Okay.
Recency bias is a hell of a drug.
Recency bias be damned.
But after the Astros play the Mariners, they will go on to play the Athletics in Sacramento, and they will go on to play the Angels in Los Angeles. Well, Anaheim. Sorry, in Disneyland.
Yes.
Those are 2 not so great baseball teams in the Athletics and in the Angels. But we saw the Athletics take care of the Red Sox this week. They were able to make that happen at home. The Athletics are a bad baseball team. They're 33-42. The Astros on the road are a game over 500 at 38-37. So do with that as you will. The Angels at home are a game under 500 at 37-38. So again, they're playing a couple of below 500 teams at home. The Astros are, and that doesn't bode well. You're right. What?
Well, I get what you're saying. Like, they're playing those teams in their home ballparks. Right? Yeah. In my head, I was thinking about it like you said, playing them at home. It sounds like you're saying the Astros are playing the Angels in Houston, but like not really.
Your facial expressions are a problem.
Right. You're the one who was complaining about not being able to have this conversation with me, and now it's a problem. All right.
Anyway, as Joe once again tries to derail the conversation here, I think that the Astros, they have a favorable schedule moving forward, and we know what the Mariners schedule looks like. You have the Astros, you then have the Rockies, should be a series that you win, should be, and then you have the Los Angeles Dodgers. And they're a team that, as of right now, is 2.5 games up on the Padres. Obviously, that's still a series that is important between the 2 teams. But that Dodgers series can become one that maybe isn't as integral to that team getting to the playoffs as we would have thought, depending on what happens with the Padres moving forward. So if the Dodgers happen to be, already locked up the division at that point, maybe they let their foot off the gas a little bit. Maybe they're resting, at least one or two of their starting 9 each game just to get them, ready to go. But I don't know, man. I think the Mariners do have the tougher schedule, but I don't think it really matters as long as they take care of business versus the Astros.
Taking care of business versus the Astros is priority number one. And if you do that, that then lends you an easier chance to take over the Tigers for the second spot in the American League, more than likely. You mentioned the Dodgers series as one where maybe they take their foot off the gas. There's not a world where they catch the Phillies or the Brewers, in my opinion. They are 8 games back of the Brewers and 5.5 back of the Phillies as far as division leaders are concerned. They're playing in a wild card round no matter what. So as soon as they clinch the division, they can kind of coast into the postseason as far as resting their starters and whatnot. So you have 3 against Colorado. That should be a series sweep at home. We know how good the Mariners are at home. With the Dodgers likely not going at you full force, that's another series win at home, in my opinion, when it all comes down to it. So if you go 5-1 at home, that leaves you 3 games. And if you go 5-4 the rest of the year, if you get swept by Houston in the worst case scenario, you're still in the postseason, in my opinion. At least I think so. That puts you at 89 wins. I think that gets you there. And
yeah,
it should get you there, all things considered, but it's hard for me to disagree with you in the fact that this series against the Astros is not, it is the most important series of the history of the Seattle Mariners, but without a doubt in 2025 it is. I will say, you mentioned how the Athletics and the Angels are under 500. The Athletics, since the trade deadline, are 23-18. They're the second best record in the American League West behind the Mariners, so pretty good there. The Angels 16-27, pretty bad. With the existing records for the Athletics versus the Astros and the Angels versus the Astros, the Athletics they're currently winning the season series 6-4 over Houston. So the Athletics know how to beat Houston, or at least they have in the past. And with how well that they've played since the trade deadline, maybe them going to Sacramento, Houston, them being Houston, that's not exactly as much of a gimme series as you might think. These teams that are on the outside looking in, that are young and hungry, like the Athletics specifically, Angels a little bit, I think less so than the Athletics, but these are the series that you look at and like, oh, that team is playing spoiler 100%. And with the Mariners playing the Rockies, you could label that in the similar conversation, I think, but to a much lesser degree, in my opinion. The strength of schedule favors the Astros once the Mariners and Astros play their series. But as far as competition in those 3 games against the Athletics and then the Angels, and then 3 against the Rockies and the Dodgers, I think the Astros are going to have a harder time winning those series, especially being on the road, than the Mariners are having those 6 games at home. If that makes sense. That was a little long-winded and convoluted, but I think we got there.
Yeah, I think that it's interesting because like the Mariners have both sides of the spectrum. They have literally the worst team in baseball. And then you have the Dodgers.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. Right. Those games are the good news is for the Mariners is we know they've talked about how maybe the energy isn't so strong for that team when they're playing bad opponents. The energy at the ballpark for the final homestand is going to be electric, simply because the Mariners are going to have a chance to clinch during pretty much any part of this homestand. Also, this is something worth monitoring. Clayton Kershaw announced that he would be retiring at the end of the 2025 season, meaning he will make, if everything stays in line, he will make the final start of his career on Friday versus the Mariners on the 26th.
Cool.
So not only are the Mariners looking to clinch a playoff spot, but one of the greatest pitchers of all time is also set to pitch his final game in Seattle. Yeah, looking like that. So just a fun week or so at the ballpark coming up. You got the Savannah Bananas game coming up on Saturday. Hey, we'll be there. We'll be at the Savannah Bananas game. So it's going to be, it's Saturday. It's coming up quick. It's crazy. But nothing is more important than what's going to be happening with this Astros series. And Joe and I are going to break down that Astros series in an episode coming out tomorrow at 9 a.m. So be sure to like and subscribe to this YouTube channel. We appreciate you guys watching episode 228 of the Hit It Here podcast, presented by FanDuel, and go Mariners.